Deep within a forest that hums with an otherworldly glow, hidden from the prying eyes of the outside world, lies the tranquil Moonberry Village. For generations, this has been a place of peace, a sanctuary where life unfolds under the gentle watch of the moon. And it's the moonlight that gives this place its magic. Once a year, when the moon is at its fullest and brightest, it coaxes special berries from the ancient trees. These aren't just any berries, they are moonberries, glowing with a soft, silvery light, the very heart of the village. They provide warmth against the biting cold, light in the deepest dark, and a joy that fills every home and heart. The annual harvest is a time of celebration, a sacred tradition that binds the community together and ensures their survival. This year, a new name was whispered among the elders for the honor of the harvest: Ellen, a young girl, quiet and shy, who often found more comfort in the silent company of the trees than in the bustling village square. To be chosen was a tremendous honor, but for Ellen it was also a heavy weight. She felt small, insignificant, and hardly the hero her village needed. Still, she prepared, her heart a mix of fear and a fledgling sense of duty. The night of the full moon arrived, a silver disk hanging in the inky sky. The entire village gathered, their faces lit with anticipation, waiting for the familiar, comforting glow of the moonberries to signal another year of prosperity. But the glow never came. One by one, the lanterns of the village seemed to dim in sympathy. A hush fell over the crowd as they stared at the dark, lifeless berries clinging to their branches. A cold, unnatural wind swept through the forest, carrying with it a chilling frost that crept along the ground, turning the once vibrant moss to brittle ice. The air grew sharp and thin. The forest, their protector, was turning against them. Panic began to ripple through the villagers. The elders, their faces etched with worrying, gathered in a solemn circle. Their whispers were grim. "The magic is fading," they concluded. The ancient pact between the village and the forest was broken. As despair began to set in, Ellen felt a strange pull, a whisper on the wind that only she seemed to hear. It wasn't a voice of words, but a feeling, a deep, resonant sadness that echoed the forest's own pain. While others saw only fading magic, Ellen saw a deeper sickness. She remembered the old stories, tales of Luma, the forest spirit, a being of light and life that was the true source of the moonberry's power. But the stories had become just that, stories. The villagers had grown complacent, taking the forest's gifts for granted, their rituals becoming hollow repetitions rather than acts of genuine gratitude. They had stopped truly caring for the woods, forgetting that their home was a living, breathing entity. Ellen knew, with a certainty that startled her, what she had to do. The spirit, Luma, was weak. It was starving for the connection, the respect that her people had forgotten to give. While the villagers huddled together, discussing futile plans to relight the berries with torches and prayers, Ellen slipped away. She clutched a small, hand-carved wooden bird, a gift from her grandmother, a reminder of the old ways. With a courage she never knew she possessed, she stepped out of the village's protective boundary and into the encroaching winter. Her journey had begun. She was no longer just the shy girl from Moonberry Village. She was its only hope. The path beyond the village was treacherous. The forest she had known her whole life was now a hostile stranger. Rivers that once babbled merrily were now frozen solid, their surfaces like dark, slick glass. She had to cross them, her every step a careful, calculated risk, the ice groaning beneath her feet in protest. The trees, once her silent friends, now seemed to whisper warnings. Their branches, heavy with frost, clawed at her cloak, their rustling leaves sounding like mournful sighs. The cold was relentless, seeping into her bones, but Ellen pressed on, driven by the image of her family and friends shivering in the dying village. She followed the faint, sad hum that had first called to her, a thread of sound leading her deeper into the heart of the frozen woods. Days bled into nights. Ellen survived on what little she could find: tough roots and the last of the autumn nuts, hidden beneath the snow. She learned to read the changed forest, to understand its new, harsh language. She navigated by the stars when the moon was hidden and listened to the whine for direction. This journey was changing her, The fear that had once defined her was being chipped away, replaced by a quiet resilience. She was no longer just reacting to the forest. She was becoming a part of it, feeling its pain as her own. She wasn't just looking for a spirit, she was looking for the very soul of her world. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she reached a clearing she had never seen before. At its center stood a colossal, ancient tree, its branches so vast they seemed to hold up the sky. But it was dying, its bark was pale and cracked, and a deep frost clung to its core. And there, nestled among its roots, was a faint, flickering light, weak and pathetic, like the last ember of a dying fire. It was Luma. The forest spirit was no bigger than a child, its form a wavering silhouette of light, its glow pulsing with a slow, painful rhythm. As Ellen approached, Luma didn't flee, it simply looked at her with ancient, sorrowful eyes. Ellen didn't try to demand or beg, she simply knelt. She took out the small wooden bird and placed it gently on a root of the great tree. She began to speak, not in the grand phrases of the elders, but from her heart, she apologized. She spoke of how her people had forgotten, how they had taken the warmth and the light for granted. She talked about her love for the forest, the joy she felt watching the sunlight filter through the leaves, the peace she found by the babbling brooks. She wasn't performing a ritual, she was having a conversation. She spent hours there, cleaning away the suffocating frost from the tree's roots, humming the old songs of gratitude her grandmother had taught her, songs the village had long forgotten. Slowly, miraculously, something began to change. As Ellen tended to the ancient tree, a warmth began to radiate from her hands. The faint light of Luma flickered, then grew a little stronger. The spirit seemed to draw strength not from magic, but from her simple, genuine act of caring. It recognized the purity of her intent. A single, small leaf on the great tree unfurled, vibrant green against the stark white of the frost. Ellen knew she was on the right path. She wasn't just saving the spirit. She was helping to restore the balance, the sacred give and take between the village and the forest. With renewed hope, Ellen worked tirelessly. She cleared pathways for small animals, melted ice from budding plants with the warmth of her hands, and whispered promises of care to the frozen trees. With every act of kindness, Luma's light grew brighter, and the deathly chill in the air began to recede. The great tree started to shed its icy shell, and a soft, silver light began to pulse from its trunk, spreading through its roots and out into the forest floor. Back in Moonberry Village, a single berry on a single branch flickered to life, casting a tiny, hopeful glow in the darkness. Gasps of wonder rippled through the huddled villagers, then another berry lit up, and another. The glow spread like a wave, flowing back from the heart of the forest. The villagers watched in stunned silence as the trees, one by one, ignited with the familiar, beloved light of the moonberries. The warmth returned, melting the frost from the rooftops and filling the air with the sweet scent of magic and pine. The forest was alive again, and then they saw her. Ellen, walking out of the now glowing woods, no longer looking like a shy, timid girl, but a guardian. Beside her, floating gracefully, was Luma, now a brilliant, radiant being of light, its presence a powerful aura of life and peace. Ellen had not only saved her village, she had healed its soul. The harvest that followed was the most joyful in memory, not just a celebration of survival, but a celebration of reconnection. The villagers, led by Ellen, no longer saw the forest as a resource, but as a cherished partner. They learned the old songs, tended to the trees, and made new promises to Luma, and Ellen, the quiet girl who thought she had nothing to offer, discovered the truth. She learned that courage isn't about being the loudest or the strongest. It's about caring enough to act when no one else will. She learned that even the quietest heart, when filled with love and respect for the world around it, holds the power to protect it all. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of Moonberry Village, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more magical tales. We love sharing these stories with you, and your support helps us bring more of them to light. See you in the next one.